playoffs. A place we never thought we'd find ourselves. What was even more surprising, however, was a call I received from none other than Mr. Uzi. He had some troubling news, not least his insistence that whenever he spoke to me everything went black and white, whatever the hell that meant. He'd also made playoffs, and it turns out he was considering choosing Coach Shroom as his opponent. Gotta make sure at least one of them made it through. Makes sense, I guess. What didn't make sense was what he told me next. Seems that when he tried to select Coach Shroom, all he got was some error message, saying he had to reselect his opponent. Something didn't smell right, so I decided to make a call of my own. All I wanted was a clue. Little did I know, I'd find not only a smoking gun, but the guy holding it.
Yeah, this is Detective Inspector Max Stryker with the DLPD. Can you put me through the regulatory board, please? I've had reports of somebody tampering with the playoff selection process for the PPL.
That would be me, Detective Inspector.
Commissioner Jack. I should have known.
Yes. Yes, you should. I'm afraid I will be the one battling Shroom in quarterfinals. Sorry to disappoint you both.
What the? Wait. Why the hell are you doing this? Surely this goes against some kind of rules?
Rules, Mr. Stryker? Let me be very clear. I make the rules. And you've been accusing Ellie and myself of all sorts of stuff over the past few seasons that we've had nothing to do with. And you think your puppet is going to progress at our expense? Not gonna happen. I understand that you have good intentions. Truly I do. But this ends now.
Alright, Commissioner. Now you listen real close to me right now. Are you sure you want to pursue this course of action? Because for someone saying he's had nothing to do with all the shit that's been going down in the past few seasons, this is all sounding mighty familiar.
Mr. Stryker, tell Shroom I will see him on the battlefield.
Son of a bitch.
Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and welcome to the PPL playoffs. Yes indeed, we squeaked into playoffs by the skin of our teeth after just about taking a bit of a dodgy win over Swansea Baynet in the final week of the regular season. So we're here, we are in playoffs, we are one of the final 8 teams left. We scraped in 4th out of 4 to make playoffs in our division, which meant we would certainly not be able to choose our opponent. Our opponent chose us, and that opponent is none other than Mr. Grey himself. It is Commissioner Jack and the Vancouver Titangs. This is going to be a rough one. His link's down in the description below. He's been a long-time friend of mine. Great guy, very, very talented battler and builder. A little underrated, I think, sometimes. But he has a very threatening team that has gone through a lot of changes, but really, I feel, has reached its zenith at the moment with the way he's using it. He can choose from Great Tusk, Raging Bolt, Iron Crown, Zarude, Enamorous Therian, Talonflame, Salazzle, Farigiraf, Spiritomb, Lapras, and Leafeon. His Terra Captains are that Zarude that can go Poison, who's been using very well, and the Lapras that can go Fire, Fairy, and Ground, which has also seen a good amount of niche use from him. Very, very scary team, very threatening stuff that he's got going on there. So we're going to have to pull out all the stops to try and beat him. And first on the list is going to be Choice Scarf Protean Greninja. Max special attack, 120 speed, naive nature I believe that is, 136 into attack. Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse and U-Turn on there. We are outpacing a max speed Choice Scarf Zarude that I'm fully expecting to come to this match. Jack has shown that he likes to lead Zarude. He's not averse to just leading and setting up. So with that attack investment, a U-Turn has a chance to just OHKO him. And in conjunction with something else that we're bringing on our team, might be able to just take it out turn 1 if that's what he chooses to do. Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, very classic kind of coverage we've got going on there. We're not outspeeding Scarf like Talonflame, I don't see that coming, same with the Salazzle. We just want to make sure we can outpace that very, very likely Scarf Zarude. Next on the team is going to be quite especially bulky Ogerpon Cornerstone here. We are jolly natured, 184 into speed to be outpacing, I believe that is the Salazzle. 156 special defense, 168 into attack. We are rocking Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip, Knockoff and Swords Dance. It is a very offensive build here. I tossed up between Swords Dance and Trailblaze, but in the end I opted to go for the Swords Dance because it seems unlikely that Zarude, that we might want to try and outpace with a Trailblaze, can actually OHKO us outside of being very offensive with close combat, and he's going to have a bit of trouble fitting all his moves onto that Zarude. Ogerpon goes really hard into his team, as it does with quite a lot of others, so I want to use this guy to break and try and get rid of some of the counters to my Greninja. Third on the team is going to be a Citrus Berry Mew. We are max defense, 100 special attack, 156 speed, timid. We have Alluring Voice, Thunderbolt, Earth Power, and Toxic. The choice between Toxic and Stealth Rock or Spikes was a difficult one, but I can really see the matchup of Mew into like Lapras or Enamorous Therian, and we need to get Toxics on those. Similar kind of thing with the Great Tusk, but the likes of Alluring Voice will do well there. Earth Power and Alluring Voice is good coverage across his team, with Thunderbolt pretty much to hit the likes of Talonflame and indeed more damage onto that Enamorous if we need it. Fourth member of the team, we are going with an offensive Lumberry Grimmsnarl here. Lumberry on there to counteract Will-O-Wisps and Flame Bodies from the likes of Salazzle, the Spiritomb, the Talonflame, things like that. We have Spirit Break, Crunch, Sucker Punch, and Thunder Wave on there. Max attack Adamant, 128 each into speed and special defense. I believe we are outrunning a non-invested Raging Bolt with that set. I want to try and get Thunder Waves onto the likes of a Terrad Zarude, noting that it won't work if he's not Terrad. Also going to be useful onto the Talonflame, the Iron Crown, the Salazzle if that comes, stuff like that. And Sucker Punch is going to be useful to get nice priority chip against a bunch of things to put them in range of Greninja. Fifth member of the team, as I scroll down, is going to be Loaded Dice Haxorus. We're going back to Swords Dance, Loaded Dice, Scale Shot. It hasn't served us well in the past, but this is a game where it can really do a lot of work with Iron Heads and Earthquake as coverage. 180 speed Jolly. That is going to allow us to outrun, I believe it is, a fully invested Great Tusk, which at +2 is dodgy as to whether it will actually OHKO, but we can get some big damage, especially if we can chip down that Great Tusk. And you know, Haxorus with that massive attack stat is going in pretty hard. 80 into defense is going to allow us to take a +2 Throat Chop from the Zarude, or it will take 2 Scarfed hits from Zarude as well, whatever it goes for. But Zarude is really the big threat here. You know, it can do so much damage, and I don't have Switchins, except for physically defensive Toxicroak. Yes, we are max defense Impish, 132 speed, which is again outpacing, I think that is another series of uninvested things like the Great Tusk, the Raging Bolt, the Farigiraf, things like that. Drain Punch, Earthquake, Toxic, and Baton Pass on there. This will absolutely tank hits from the Zarude, and what I said earlier with the U-turn on Greninja, if that doesn't KO a lead Zarude, then going into Toxicroak, the Rocky Helmet chip will allow that to happen. Drain Punch, Earthquake, hit it, whether it's Terrad or not. We have Anticipation on there. That's not a misgen. We are not running Water Absorb, Dry Skin. The only water user on his team really is the Lapras, and I don't want to be staying in against that because it could have coverage for me. Anticipation is on there, so we can fully scout that Zarude. Now, Zarude only gets a few moves to hit Toxicroak super effectively, those being Acrobatics, Aerial Ace, and Stomping Tantrum on the physical side. I think it also gets like a Mud Shot or something. But if we have Anticipation on there, we can work out whether Jack has seen what Toxicroak can do to Zarude and packed a coverage move. So we'll know if we're safe to switch in or not. It's a niche thing. It might work, it might not, but we'll just have to wait and see. But that is the team that I'm going into this quarterfinal matchup with. So without further ado, let's get over to the battle screen and see what Jack has decided to bring against me. So, as you can see, Jack has decided to bring Raging Bolt, Great Tusk, Zarude, Iron Crown, Lapras, and Salazzle. Not too many surprises there. I was anticipating Lapras. I thought Talonflame might come over the Salazzle. It's an interesting bring on his part, but everything else is pretty much as to be expected. Doesn't change my plans. I'm leading with Greninja, Choice Scarf to outspeed everything on his team. So let's get into it and see how things play out. So here we go, PPL quarterfinal matchup against Jack and the Vancouver Titangs. He is going to lead off with his Iron Crown, as I'm going to go with my Greninja. Now, Jack has used Iron Crown very well this season. There is every chance that a Dark Pulse will not take him out from this range if he's Assault Vest or even just has nominal bulk. And I can't afford to let him go for like a Focus Blast and just destroy me. So I'm just going to go for U-turn off rip. Try and gauge a little bit of investment on his side, see what kind of set we're working with. So, U-turn, going to come in here, get our Protean and do around about 20 to 25%, which is nice chip damage to have onto this Iron Crown. But now I have to think of something to switch in, and realistically looking at my team, not a lot does. So I'm going to have to go into Mew very early indeed to sponge a hit and see what kind of Iron Crown we're working with. He is just going to go for the Volt Switch. Now that's looking to have at least some offensive investment. Still too early to gauge whether he is Assault Vest or Culver Berry, which I was kind of anticipating. It doesn't look Specs, and in comes Zarude. Now, under no circumstances am I staying in on this Zarude when I have a tailor-made answer to this Zarude in the form of my Rocky Helmet Fizz Def Toxicroak. So, switching out with Mew in a very fast-paced early game, Toxicroak is going to come in and the U-turn is going to do absolutely nothing. We do see Rocky Helmet damage and we didn't see Anticipation. That means he doesn't have a super effective move for Toxicroak. It also means he doesn't know we're Anticipation. He might still think we're Dry Skin, which is great to have. Now, in comes, and I'm going to say it once for you, Jack. Once, alright? Great Tussle. There, I've said it once, you're not getting another one. I hate that nickname. Anyway, the Great Tusk is in, and again, I don't switch in well to this thing. I don't switch in well to a lot of his team. Mew is going to be the best option, and he's getting a lot of initiative on me really early, which is not great. I need to wrestle some of that back, as the Great Tusk is looking like a much more bulky build, and he is just going to go for his rocks. But now Mew is in, and Mew can start really trying to do some work here. I don't think he's going to want to stay in here in the slightest. Iron Crown, to me, is going to be his best option if he wants to take a stab here, or maybe Fairy predicting Zarude. So I'm actually just going to go for Earth Power here. I don't lose all that much by it, and we can start trying to gauge what this Great Tusk wants to do. So Great Tusk is going to get on out of there, doesn't want to take a Psychic under no circumstances. And in, actually, is not going to come Iron Crown, it's going to be Raging Bolt, but this is damage I will take. A good like 30-ish% with Earth Power is lovely to get on the Raging Bolt early. And honestly, I'm just going to stay in and do it again. I don't fear too much of what this thing wants to do unless it's going to drop a Specs Draco, and that then gives me back all the initiative. So I'm going to go for an Earth Power again and try and gauge how much damage he can do to me in response. So Earth Power is going to come in here and get, I think, a slightly higher roll, which is nice. Jack is just going to go for the Volt Switch here. That's going to take me down into Citrus Berry range and pop me back above half, which is a really useful position to be in. But we've got major damage onto the Raging Bolt, which again is another mon Jack has used really well this season. So happy to see a good amount of damage on that as early as we've managed it. Now, in comes Lapras, and no, Jack, I'm not saying the nickname. But this is why we have Toxic, and I immediately am going to go for it. Toxic onto Lapras is huge. I think he might have been anticipating us to be choiced from the way we were playing it, but always happy to whittle this thing down. As you'll see, he's going to go for Psychic Noise. So I guess potentially predicting the switch into Toxicroak, trying to take a Water-type move, but it also prevents us from going for like Drain Punch, Giga Drain, something like that. So it's a good multi-purpose move from the Lapras. Now, I don't think he can damage me all that much, and I do want to maintain health on Mew, but I also want to try and gauge what this Lapras is all about. So I'm just going to go for a Thunderbolt here. See how much damage we can do to Lapras. I'm taking Lapras seriously as a threat. It's been brought to shut down the likes of my Greninja and other special attackers, most likely. So I'm going to go for Thunderbolt, see if we can tell what kind of investment we're working with on the Lapras. So Thunderbolt going to come in and do nothing. Absolutely nothing was done that day. He's going to go for Sparkling Aria, and that's going to do a good amount to Mew. But that is looking to be very much Assault Vest on the Lapras, so he is very prepped for Greninja. Now, at this point, the toxic damage is racking up on him, and Mew has kind of run a bit of its race at this point. So I'm thinking he's going to want to try and preserve Lapras to still maintain itself as a switch into Greninja. That in mind, I'm going to predict him to switch out and try and get really offensive play into Zarude. He's seen Thunderbolt, Earth Power, and Toxic. If my last move is Psychic, then Zarude walls it. So I'm going to go for Alluring Voice, try and catch Zarude on the offensive switch. And he is going to withdraw the Lapras, which is really nice. As you'll see, he's not going to go Zarude, but he is going to go Raging Bolt. I will take this all day, every day, because as you'll see, Alluring Voice is going to come in, and that's going to pick up the KO onto Raging Bolt. We take a 6-5 lead, a big threat gone, and Mew is kind of playing out of its skin here. Now in comes the Iron Crown, and as you'll see from my team, I don't switch in well to Iron Crown. Tachyon Cutter can do a lot of damage to me, and I don't have anything that really wants to switch in. Mew has used its Citrus Berry, it is not going to be taking many more hits. So I am just going to stay in here. Maybe he's a bulky set without any speed investment, it's a possibility. I'm going to go for Earth Power and see if we can't get a bit more chip damage onto the Iron Crown. And as you'll see, he is just going to go for Tachyon Cutter. That is, unfortunately for me, going to take out Mew. So we're very much playing tit for tat here. We go 5-all, and now it's up to me as to what I want to bring in. Now, realistically, Greninja is the only thing I can go for here. He knows that we're Protean, so a Dark Pulse will be doing a good amount of damage to him. What I'm going to try and do here, though, is scare him out. He knows that if I'm going to stay in and attack this thing with a look to take it out, a Dark Pulse is coming. But if he's Assault Vest or in any way specially defensive, he will still take that hit. So what I'm actually going to do is just go for U-turn, thinking that he's going to want to preserve this Iron Crown for later on, given that it can clearly do a lot of damage to my team. I was struggling to switch into it just now. And as you see, he is going to make that play. He's going to switch on out of there and go into his safest option, which is going to be the Lapras. Now, U-turn is not going to do an inordinate amount to this guy, but it's still a decent little chunk, which is lovely. So at this point, he's going to be taking a little bit of Toxic Chip on whatever I switch into, but I have a few things that really threaten him, not least is going to be my Ogerpon. So Ogerpon going to hit the field here, take a bit of rocks damage, so my Sturdy is broken, that doesn't matter. I'm Terastallizing turn straight off rip. Now he's going to take a bit of damage, unless he's very physically defensive. Even if he is Terra Ground, an Ivy Cudgel is looking like it will do the work here against the Lapras. So that is kind of what I'm going to click. I don't think he wants to Terra this, I think he wants to Terra the Zarude. That would make the most sense, especially since he's seen U-turn on Greninja. He's going to want to do that. So I'm going to click Ivy Cudgel here. It goes pretty hard into him. If he wants to go into Great Tusk, I can follow up with a Power Whip. And if he wants to go into Iron Crown, that's going to be risky because it looks like he doesn't want to take a lot of damage on it. So Lapras is going to be pulled back, and Jack is going to make an interesting play here. He's going to go into the Salazzle. I did not see this switch coming in the slightest, and I'm going to Terra up. And as I'm Terraing, my thought process was, he wouldn't just sack this immediately. He must know he can take a hit, and the only way he's taking this is if he's Focus Sash. So that's what I'm kind of anticipating. He can get a free switch if he's sashed. But then, what's he going to do to me? It didn't make any sense to me at the time. Either way, I am going to fire off the Ivy Cudgel, and this, unless he's sashed, is obviously going to take him out. But he is sashed, that would have killed about 17 Salazzles, especially with the crit. Now at this point, I'm thinking, there's nothing he can do to me. Like, I resist both of his moves, now I'm not part grass anymore. It's about now that I think, oh, what if he gets Endeavour? So I went over to look it up, and he does indeed get Endeavour. That is a problem, he outspeeds me, there is nothing I can do about that. So something here is being taken down to 1 HP, and I basically have to decide what that's going to be. It can't be Greninja, because he's got rocks up and I need that thing switching around. It can't really be the Haxorus, because he would take me down to 1 and then just kill me. It can't be the Frog, the Toxicroak, because I need that for the Zarude. So it's either going to be Ogerpon or it's going to be Grimmsnarl, and I opt to just let Jimmy take the hit and claim its kill. He's going to go for the Endeavour, that's going to take me down to 1, and I'm going to go for the knockoff, just in case he wanted to go into the Iron Crown or something. Down goes Salazzle, but now we are very easily revenged by pretty much anything. What this does mean, though, is he's going to have to reveal what his Scarfer is outside of Zarude, if he has one. And he's going to go into the Iron Crown. Now, as I've said so many times, I don't have a switch into this guy, and he is going to go for the Volt Switch. Now, this proves that this is Scarfed Iron Crown. That is a huge problem. I was so focused on the Zarude being Scarfed, I didn't consider how much of a threat Scarfed Iron Crown could be, and now that he's proven himself to be Scarfed, that's a problem. He'll have known from turn 1 that my Greninja was Scarfed, because I outsped this guy who is very clearly also Scarfed. Speaking of Scarfs, in comes the Zarude. Now, I have a tailor-made answer to this guy in the form of, well, either one of my frogs, really. Greninja will outspeed and get initiative, or Fingers LaRue will just take the hit. Now, I'm going to opt to go into Toxicroak. I don't want to take any more rocks damage on Greninja than I absolutely need to. So I'm going to go into my Toxicroak on this Volt Switch and try and tank a hit from the Zarude. So, in comes Fingers LaRue. Now, I have to make a decision here. Is he just going to U-turn or hard switch, or is he going to Terra to try and get around this Toxicroak and do some damage to it? Earthquake is a pretty risk-free play. It's going to hit the Iron Crown, it's going to hit the Lapras, it'll do pitiful damage to anything other than the Iron Crown, but it's still going to be damage. Now, he is going to just hard swap. He doesn't want to take that Rocky Helmet damage, which is fair. He is going to get into the Great Tusk. Now, we've already seen it's got rocks, it's very likely to be a much bulkier build, and we don't have attack investment, so that's going to do absolutely nothing. And now here comes the problem, because this team does not switch into Great Tusk. And this is where the toss-up between Endeavour on Ogerpon or Grimmsnarl doesn't really matter. I saved Grimmsnarl because I thought I might need the Sucker Punch later on down the line, but at this point, I'm going to have to let something die, essentially. My Lucky O'Brien, my Haxorus may have some defense investment, but if this thing is even mildly offensive Great Tusk, that's not going to matter a jot. He is going to Oko something here, and basically I have to decide what that's going to be. And unfortunately, it is going to be Grimmsnarl. Didn't want to have to do this, but something was going to die here. There was no two ways about it. As you can see, he is just packing Headlong Rush. That is going to destroy Grimmsnarl. No two ways about it. That would have taken out anything on my team at that point. I just had to choose a sack. He is now at -1 defenses, which is nice, but now I have to start getting really aggressive with my plays. Now, Greninja is the clear and obvious choice for me to go into, take a bit of rocks damage. Now, Jack is up 4-3, but I'm pretty sure he's going to want to save this Great Tusk, because, like it or not, Haxorus is a threat that he has to think about. If I can get that thing set up, it can do a number on him, depending on the set I'm running in my investment. So I'm thinking he's going to want to get out of there with Great Tusk and probably go into the Lapras. Now, he is going to withdraw, which is really good. If he'd have stayed in there, we'd have been in an absolute world of hurt. As it is, he's going to go into the Lapras, trying to get that Water Absorb going, but I'm not having any of it. I'm going for U-turn. Like I say, if he'd have stayed in there, I'd have had to sack something else, and then we just straight up lose this game entirely. As it is, we do still have a chance. Now, I am going to go into my Haxorus right about now. There's no sense in going into Toxicroak. It will just die to a Psychic Noise. Haxorus will tank any hit that he has. I think it's very unlikely that he's going to outspeed me. And he's going to go down to Toxic next turn. So what I'm going to do is just go for Scale Shot and see if we can't get a little bit set up and try and do more damage with Haxorus. Now, unfortunately for me, Jack is packing Ice Shard on this Lapras. Obviously, that's not going to kill, as I pick up my KO with Scale Shot, but it is about 45% chip damage onto Haxorus, and that means it's not taking a hit anymore, especially with that defense drop. Either of Jack's Scarfers can come in and revenge me from here. And it's going to be the consummate threat, the Iron Crown, that is going to come in. Now, Iron Crown naturally outpaces Haxorus, and I'm not running max speed anyway. But either way, this is probably going to be another KO. There's nothing I can go into here that will take 2 hits comfortably. I am just going to have to stay in. We know that he's Scarfed, and he's going to be outpacing me. There goes the Tachyon Cutter, and that's easily going to take me out from there. Gets a crit on the second hit. Obviously, that doesn't matter in the slightest. And now, it basically just comes down to my Frogs. All I have left are my Frogs, my Greninja, and my Toxicroak. I am going to go into the Greninja. Now, Greninja has been freed up quite significantly here, because the Lapras is gone. That makes things just that little bit easier. And now, the door is kind of open, and there is a chance that Greninja, with support from Toxicroak, might be able to do this. Now, I can't go for Dark Pulse because he has 2 resists in the back that will tank those all day, every day, and he is going to make the offensive switch into his other Scarfer, but we make the ballsy play, and we're going to go for Ice Beam on the switch. Knowing he was going to want to get out of there, Ice Beam was good coverage against both Great Tusk and this guy, and as you'll see, it does a lot of damage. This is amazing, because now, this brings Hydro Pump right back into the mix. Jack is going to switch out once again here, though. He doesn't want to sack off the Zarude just yet, and he's going to go back into the Iron Crown. Now, Ice Beam is not going to do a whole huge amount, but it's chunking down this Iron Crown, and now there is a chance that he might be in range of Hydro Pump. I have to get out of there and reset my Scarf. I'm pretty sure Jack was doing the same with his Iron Crown at that point, but I have no more use for my Toxicroak. It's done a decent job here of stopping the Zarude from going crazy, essentially. And Toxicroak is going to hit the field right about now as a sacrificial play. There's the anticipation as Jack finally realises what we have. The Tachyon Cutter is going to come in here. He's going to get a crit on the second hit. Now, that mattered for damage, but I wasn't packing priority, so it didn't matter overall. But now, as it begins, so it ends in this match with just Greninja left. Hydro Pump, as I said, has really been brought back into the game here. Now it is just me and Greninja versus the world. And it all comes down to what investment this guy is packing. He will have to be max speed on the Iron Crown, because he has to play around me possibly having a max speed +1 Haxorus. I don't always aggressively speed creep. There's always the chance that I just bring max speed Haxorus. So he has to be very near max on this Iron Crown. He's going to get on out of there, and he is going to sack off his Zarude, knowing that he doesn't need it anymore. I'm going to go for Hydro Pump. We're going to get the Protean into pure water, which doesn't really matter. We are going to miss that Hydro. That's okay. That's okay. As long as we hit the next one, everything is fine, and we're still in this. Go for Hydro Pump, and we do land the subsequent one. That is going to take out the Zarude, which is nice. But now, as I said, it all comes down to how much investment in HP this Iron Crown has. Like I say, he has to be max speed for my Haxorus, so he can't take EVs out of speed to go into special attack, or to go into HP, sorry. So it all really depends on how much special attack investment Jack thinks he needs on this Iron Crown, because that will dictate how much HP investment he has. So in comes the Iron Crown, the consummate threat. And like I say, it all comes down to how much HP investment he has. If he's not invested, we have a chance of KOing him here. Genuinely. It's a bit of a damage roll. Here we go. Hydro Pump comes so close. Jack is going to go for Volt Switch. Iron Crown's going to pick up its 5th KO. Down goes Greninja. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the game. Wow, what a game. Such a close one, genuinely. Yeah, I think that we both played that one well, honestly. I think I played a pretty good game, especially with Mew. I think I played that one out of his skin. But unfortunately, Jack's prep was just that little bit better, and that's what Jack is known for. He's a very good prepper, he's a very good builder, he often knows what his opponents are going to bring before they do. I was so focused and zoned in on Scarf Zarude being the threat that I just kind of didn't think about that second one, that Scarfed Iron Crown, and it proved to be such a menace. You know, once Mew took too much damage, I didn't have Switchins, and yes, I could bring in Greninja to threaten. But I was never in a position where I could go for Dark Pulse. He could always switch out, he had plenty of resistances. And also just the simple fact that Iron Crown can be built to take those hits, even when they're scarfed. You know, Jack had some significant HP investment. That last Hydro Pump, it wasn't a roll. I was never taking him out from there. He had a good amount of HP investment. So unfortunately what that means is that is the end of the run. We are out in the quarterfinals of the playoffs, but we made it this far. And that is good. Credit to Jack. He played a fantastic game. He deserves his semi-final position. And he out-prepped me. So well played. Hats off. Here's links down in the description below with everyone else. Make sure you check out all those links. But that is the end of our PPL run. What is going to become of us? What is going to become of Draft League City? Well, you'll have to stay tuned to find out. I'm sure there will be a summation. I'm sure many of those loose ends will be tied up. I'm sure all your answers or your questions will be answered, but that is going to be for another video. Once again, well done to Jack, my man. Well played, congratulations. Good luck in the semi-finals, along with everyone else who made it. But I'm going to get out of here. I've rambled on for far too long. So my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I will see you next time. Laters.